I have made 70,000 cold calls, and I'm going to break down the 5 most useful lessons that I have learned from firsthand experience and that I still apply today because I actually make cold calls. Lesson number 1 is to obsess over the process and emotionally detach from the results. I want you to imagine me at a spa, cucumbers over my eyes. They're giving me a massage on my nice broad shoulders. I'm about to step into the sauna. I'm excited. I would not be as calm or relaxed or as zen in that spa situation than I would be standing at this desk with my wired headphones into the computer with the the ringing noise, calling a prospect out of the blue, prepared to interrupt their day. Sales is a contact sport, and I am seeking out the answers. And when we say obsess over the process, what does that mean? That is defining success by focusing on the inputs, the things you can control, revenue generating activities, finding prospects, calling prospects, emailing prospects. What does winning the day look like to you? How many prospects you got to call to hit your quota? And if you're sitting there worried about, well, if I don't hit my quota, they're going to fire me and then I can't live in this nice apartment on the 24th floor downtown Austin, Texas. My quality of life, everything's going to fall apart. I'll move back in with my parents. What's the worst case scenario? What are you afraid of? That means you're focused on the results. You're too worried about setting meetings. I don't even care if I set meetings. It doesn't even matter to me. I am just focused on making the calls because I am obsessed with the process and the inputs. And when I'm doing that, I'm calm and having fun with it. Lesson number 2 is that the fear of rejection is often more painful than actually being rejected. If you're working from home like me, you sleep in your bed 10 foot that way, it's quiet, and then all of a sudden you got to put in your headset and you know that you're going to be told no. I think most people have a sense of wanting to be seen, heard, a sense of well-being. Biologically, we're programmed. If we are disagreeable with others, we may get voted out of the tribe and our chances of survival go down drastically. So if I say, hey, I don't resonate with what you're saying, your sense of well-being goes down and you just don't feel good about it. So when you're visualizing this situation of being told no or hung up on in a devastating fashion, they put you in a body bag 10 feet below the ground, the idea of that doesn't feel good. But the reality is that when you are actually told no in the moment, it does not sting as bad as your mind is imagining it to be. I was speaking with a coaching client this morning and he kept saying, I'm worried about making cold calls. I keep getting in my own way. And I said, well, what are you afraid of? He's like, well, what if they don't like me? And I said, well, what if they don't like you? What happens? He's like, well, I will call somebody else. And I said, yeah, good. That's a good idea. Not everyone's going to like you. It would be weird if everyone liked you. So if you're allowing this imaginary perception of how you may or may not feel in the future as defined by rejection being a good or bad thing, in reality, you have no idea what it's going to be like. And actually, so for example, if you're going skydiving, you can't even eat breakfast that morning, the Will Smith analogy, because you're so fearful of jumping out of the plane. But then when you actually jump out of the plane, it's pure bliss. So maybe being rejected feels better than you thinking about what it's going to be like being rejected. Consider that idea. And if you are wondering, well, Trent, you're so spectacular at cold calling. You're the most prolific caller on the entire internet because you have so many real world results. What do you say on the phone? Can I get coaching from you? Yes, I've included a link in my description below with my cold calling script and one-on-one personalized coaching. It doesn't get better than that. I'm giving you my time. Lesson number 3 is calling is like gambling, but you can't lose. You only win. If you gamble on sports, such a waste of time, terrible habit. But if you like to cold call and you gamify it, that's a productive habit because you have nothing to lose. I remind myself that every single morning. Trent, you have nothing to lose. You're one call away from changing your week, month, quarter. Welcome to Q2, April. So why not pick up the phone? What is the worst case scenario? You're told no. You can't sell into that account. You got to call some new prospects. There is no downside in gambling. You can lose all your money and you'll be very sad. In cold calling, you have nothing to lose. You only have gain. And when you make the cold calls, it's actually something that's productive to be addicted to. So if they're like, Trent, what's your vice? I say, well, I really like to cold call because I'm just going to keep calling. It's like playing a roulette wheel with infinite spins. And if you just keep spinning enough, eventually you're going to hit the jackpot. And that's the same thing with cold calling. You just keep calling. You have nothing to lose. You keep putting your coins in. You keep turning the dial. Eventually, you will win. You will set a meeting. You'll gain information on an account. Good things will start to happen the more calls you make. So maybe watch a little less sports and pick up the phone a little bit more. Lesson number 4, and these things to me are very obvious. So if you're hearing this and you're saying, wow, Trent's making a lot of sense, hit the thumbs up button. No. Lesson number 4, persistence compounds over time. I was speaking with someone else the other day, and he was describing, it took 3 years to get into this account. And I said, respect. That's what it takes. That's what it takes to get in these big accounts and the large deals with the huge commission checks. If it were an overnight process, then it wouldn't be as special. The harder it is to reach the decision maker, quote unquote, the more qualified they are to buy. If you think about an investing analogy here, put all your money in your 401k. I don't have a 401k, but if you invest money early, they say, it will compound over time. Warren Buffett, the ninth wonder of the world, compound interest. It's the same thing with cold calling. If you keep calling, the prospect keeps seeing your name. They're receiving emails. They have voice messages. Maybe even you text them sometime. Does anyone do texting? Let me know. And if you just keep calling, the persistence will compound, and there will come a time when they say, wow, Trent is just so professionally persistent. I have to hear what he has to say. And a real life example of this is I was calling a VP at a massive credit union, and I define massive as 2,000 plus employees. I called him 47 times over 2 years, and I had also called his director 34 times. I just so happened to eventually get the VP. After 50-something calls, he takes my meeting, and then he brings on the director. And I say, Glenda, it's great to have you on the call. And it was hilarious, that situation. And I said, look, I've reached out to you guys a lot. Appreciate you taking my meeting. Let's get started. And that's how it works, because the persistence compounded over time. And of course, it's a finance analogy. And I set a meeting with a credit union because that's what I do. They have all the money. Lesson number 5, the 5th and final lesson. Cold calling is never going away, so you may as well learn it, love it, embrace it, and get as good at it as you possibly can. When I first started calling, it didn't come as natural to me as you may think it would. I sort of avoided it. I would sit there and look at the company website, the prospect's LinkedIn, do all of this research, thinking it would increase my odds of setting meetings, when in reality, it was me conforming to the resistance and allowing it to stop me from actually taking action. And then I sought out advice from a mentor, and he said, look, cold calling is not going away. You may as well just get great at it. Just really lean into it. And that's what I did. And that's how I've made so many thousand cold calls. I stay consistent. I do it. And believe me when I say it pays off. So if you're sitting there in an organization where they don't love to cold call, lead from the front. Be the person that makes the most calls. I would be embarrassed if I weren't leading my team or even department in activity, because I may miss quota. I'm okay with that, but I will not be bottom of the leaderboard, the activity dashboard. And you can control that. You can control how many calls you make. And if you are interested in learning a strategy to increase your effectiveness and know exactly what to say on the phone, how to overcome objections, I have linked my cold calling guide in the description below, along with one-on-one coaching if you would like to meet with me to talk about your sales career or whatever it is you have on your mind. Thanks so much for watching the entire video here today. Happy pipeline, happy life. Welcome to Q2.